Hello, very beautiful community. I'm getting a lot of questions about how calamitous the link to Epstein might prove for Trump. So, you know all the details of the story, 99% of you do, so I won't reheat that. Nor will I give a kind of general analysis about whether Trump's ratings are going to go down next month as a result, or whether they'll go up, or whether they'll stay the same. I want to give a bigger picture perspective on this. Lots of excellent political cycle type discussions of this. Ezra Klein did one a couple of days ago. Katty Kay with the Mooch did one on the Rest of Politics US a couple of days ago too. So let's go a bit bigger picture. There are several categories of bad that Trump is doing. Here are three of them. He's authoritarian. He's parasitic upon state capacity, upon counter-majoritarian institutions, and upon democratic culture. However, Trump's authoritarianism isn't obviously a candidate for rejection by his supporters, right? Because there is a desire to throw an orange wrecking ball at a system that people feel works against them or has left them behind. We can begin reciting all of the political emotions that animate disaffected citizens today, from feeling unsafe to feeling betrayed, to feeling powerless, to feeling that all of politics is an opaque process that no longer makes sense. But there are two other kinds of bad that Trump's doing that you might expect to generate blowback. One kind of bad is that the extremes of neoliberalism that brought Trump to power are more than replicated in Trump's own politics. Various byproducts of the politics of previous administrations, including Democrat administrations, was that you got enormous concentration of economic power that political elites seem to be unable or unwilling, or both, to challenge. And you got a kind of outsourcing of political and economic reality to the whims of globalization without that being consulted on with citizens. That's a cartoonish sketch of some of the way in which Bill Clinton and Barack Obama caused Trump. But if we look at what's wrong with politics that caused Trump, Trump himself is a worse perpetuator of it than any of the people who've come before that have caused him. So, that's one thing you could imagine people being critical of Trump for. Here is another thing, neocon politics, neocon foreign policy. What Trump did in Iran recently is an example of it. It's an example of a kind of fantasism with fever dreams of regime change that has consistently proven to be unrealistic at getting the United States closer to its goals globally and in the Middle East. So, why isn't Trump getting more blowback on neocon and neoliberal commitments? And here it's worth making a footnote, namely that my own view is that there is a special connection between the neoliberal and the authoritarian element. That's to say, there can be a seepage from a commitment to the primacy of the market to a commitment to a kind of competition of all against all in which it's okay for the mightier and stronger to win. Might is right politics. And then might is right politics today blends with this globally rotating ideology of a monarchist kind that says that the only political steps that are legitimate are steps taken by the person at the top. So it's a complete evacuation of legitimacy from impersonal processes, from procedure. The modern conception of legitimacy that makes sense to us is entirely dependent on procedure. I agree with this process, even if I don't agree with the result that's been generated by it. And hence I find a government that I disagree with still legitimate, because the process has generated the result I don't like is acceptable to me, even though the result is one I don't want. So it's very important to keep that front and center, this footnote, because it'll come up repeatedly. We'll bring it out in more detail in the next main channel video, hopefully, but it'll come up when we in a moment try to say a word or two about the Epstein link specifically. Now, I do think that the Epstein story has the capacity to create significant rifts within MAGA. But I think that what I'm saying by that is that it could pull MAGA down post-Trump, but it's not enough to pull MAGA down with Trump, and Trump is still around. Because of that notion of legitimacy, right? Whereby a lot of people who voted for Trump feel that the right thing to do is the thing that Trump does, which creates a very, very difficult, circuitous nightmare politically, whereby it's not just that folks are victims of a post-truth culture and you point out to them that there are 4 ducks in the pond and they say, no, there is no pond and there are no ducks. It's that once you buy into this concept of legitimacy, it's very difficult to land in a place where you reject what the leader you support does, no matter what he does. This kind of idea of legitimacy goes very well with conspiracy theories. And that's because when a leader does something or is implicated in something that's fishy to you, but you have no conceptual space to be critical of him, what you tend to say, well, yes, it looks fishy, but there must be factors at play behind the scenes that bring it about that somehow it's okay. So, yes, there may be the sense that there's something bad about the link of Trump to Epstein historically, but in the end, there must be something like a Bidenite or Obamanite behind-the-scenes campaign to smear Trump that we're not seeing, that is really the thing that's at hand here. So that's a kind of a change of subject from what's the deal with Trump's connection with Epstein to a conversation about the deep state. I mean, you sort of reveal what the deep state is. The answer comes back, well, that's not the real deep state. We have to go deeper. And you reveal that, you have to go deeper. It can't end with a conspiracy psychology, because there's always the feeling that what really matters is what you can't see. Now, this kind of circuitous nightmare of zombified support, no matter what your leader does, is only in its inception in the West. But because we are seeing a remarkable example of the same story in Russia at a much more advanced level, we can learn some lessons. I mean, the way the Russians are zombified with this conception of legitimacy is extraordinary. I mean, they literally 50-60% of the population at least cannot conceive of what it would be for Putin to do something wrong. It's not that he wouldn't, it's that they don't even have conceptual ground about where to go. which means that those among the depoliticized blob in Russia who have an iffy feeling about Putin's brutal invasion of Ukraine say, well, it's so bad and so brutal that there's got to be an excellent reason for him to do it, even though I might never be able to find out what it is. And that kind of vicious cycle is gonna really spread to more and more Western citizens in their relationship with their political leaders as our democracies destabilize and as we get more authoritarian populists circling power. So that's the big picture conversation that I think is interesting here. The smaller picture point is, I don't think the Epstein link is an existential threat to Trump as long as Trump is there. When Trump's gone, that and other things may well cause enormous rifts in MAGA. But I'm not sure how much that matters, because I'm anyway pessimistic about the prospects of Trumpism beyond Trump. I think that the United States has to fear something like a second wave of authoritarianism that'll be of a different kind to Trumpism. Trumpism itself is an implosive project, and Trump will find many new ways to implode over the next couple of years that have nothing to do with his link with Jeffrey Epstein. Lots and lots of love.